Phil, well done the other night. Good win, and more important, I suspect, a good performance.
It was a much needed win, Trevor, truth be known, because once we've had the season that we've had so far, which has been half decent, and there's nothing for half decent, do you? You get nothing for it because you finish out of the playoff places, out of automatic promotion or whatever it is you're chasing. Half decent is no good to me. Decent is different. And I thought on Saturday to put two very poor performances to bed at Marine and home to Spennymoor. I think we did. We went a long way to doing that. With the performance, with the state of play where the team is concerned, you know, because when you're coming into the final stretch and you've got to say it, we're coming close to it. Still 13, 14 games to go. Like, you know, it's still a long way to go. A lot of points to be played for. When you're coming into that, you want to be coming into that with some kind of form, some kind of belief, some kind of knowledge of how you're going to play in games where there could be a little bit sticky situations. There could be tough, the opposition, there could be an easy opposition, whichever the case may be. You've got to make sure that you know what your team's all about, your character of your team's all about, the way that we're feeling, you know, because I think that's the most important part, you know, the emotional side of the game is the most important part when you're coming into the final stretch. And Tuesday was a good sign, if truth be known, but it was a good sign for a couple of reasons which I mentioned after the game. The signing of two new players, you know, gives everybody a lift, and that's not just to say the performance on Tuesday night was all about Kyle Morrison and David Worrell. It was about the players that we know can play at this level stepping up to the plate, having emptied a little bit in the previous two games. That was a nice part of it, you know, the players that, you know, like the likes of Ashley Hemmings, the likes of Amari Morgan-Smith. You can go on, you know, the players that we're used to seeing week in and week out, they came back to the party because of the emergence of two new players.
I'm interested in the psychological side of it, really, because after last Saturday against Spennymoor, obviously you came in here, it was a pretty emotional interview. You called them out to a degree and said, you know, some players, if they want me out of the club, you know, da-da-da-da, like that. But Sunday morning then, you had them in for training, without breaching any confidences, but was that about getting on the pitch and training, or was that type of clear the air meeting and find out what's going on here?
A lot of people in the press actually say clear the air meetings, and I think it's such an easy comment, an easy go-to comment, but it's a nice comment because at the end of the day I probably have them kind of conversations every day. Clear the air, people just want honesty, want to know exactly what I think and how I want the game played, and vice versa. I want to know how they want to play the game, and are we on the same page? That's the main part. So clear the air conversations are part and parcel of life as a manager. Coming in on a Sunday morning is painful. It's painful. It's something I don't want to do. It's something that I don't want my family to suffer. This is my family at the same time, you know, and the players have got to understand that yes, we were held out in a hotel, myself, my wife and the kids, in preparation for coming in at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But there'll have been hardship where the players are concerned as well. You know, some of the players are travelling from Manchester. That's hardship in itself. And they have to realise, it's as simple as it gets, you know, they have to realise how important it is. You know, it's important that our families don't suffer. And the only way to do that is genuinely perform to the best of your ability. And Saturday against Spennymoor was just another bad day at the office, and there was an excuse, if you want to call it, for the Marine performance. You know, we're playing Marine off the park in the first 20 minutes, and all of a sudden there's a goal from out of the blue. You talk about, not from nowhere, you could see that they were capable. I'm not calling Marine out by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying a goal from a player who you weren't expecting from, and bang, it's in the top corner and it's 1-1, and then we get a red card. So there's reasons, if you want to call them reasons, but there's excuses as well. Then that next 20 minutes up until half time was just not acceptable, the way we played, regardless of whether you're down to 10 men. It's putting your head in the 6-yard box. You don't need to be down to 10 men or 9 men or 8 men. If you've got 8 men, you've got 8 men to put your head in them in the 6-yard box, and that's all I was asking for. So that kind of commitment is something that it's a prerequisite in any game of football. People talk about National League North and South. People talk about National League. You go to the Premier League, it's exactly the same. Put your head in the 6-yard box. So coming in on a Sunday morning, it's just to remind one or two to get out of bed, on days off and come to work and then realise, you know, the errors of your way if it was that. But lo and behold, what a great example, you know. We have a little set piece session on a Tuesday afternoon on Agbra, and then an hour or two later it's put into practice and the ball's in the back of the net. It's down to commitment, it's down to movement, it's down to quality, it's down to all of them things. But I expect players to do that at any level.
You've been in the game a long time. When you have a meeting like that, and over your career you probably have one or two, shall we say?
Quite a few.
Fair enough, I was trying to be diplomatic. But does it come down to you can look into players' eyes and you know who's got the fire in the belly, really?
Yes, you can say that, but it's reminding them that they have got the fire. Every player's got fire in his belly, and they show it in a different way, you know. A lot of players walk across the white line. I couldn't lace their boots in terms of the technical side of the game. But the one thing you get is a genuine, honest performance where you know, I'll put my foot in, I'll put my head in, I'll wear my heart on its sleeve, you know, I'll wear the shirt with pride. All of them things that you talk about. That's what I was, and I played 700 games because of it. But sometimes you need reminding. You know, sometimes managers need to say, "Whoa, remember where you're from. Remember what you're in the game for. Remember how you got in the game." And it was all down to commitment where I was concerned. Some players so lucky that they're blessed with talent, and I'm talking about genuine talent. If you go in our change room, you're going to talk about Ashley Hemmings with genuine talent, Riley Reynolds. You know, players that can actually win a game of football with the ball at their feet. But a lot of the games these days are won with the ball in your head or committed, where that's concerned. And if you've got that, if you've got a team with heart, you've got half a chance in any league. If you've got half a chance in any league because you've got the quality as well, then you've got a chance of winning things. And that's all we're in the game for, Trev, is to try and win something, you know. And you've got a couple of two together, you know, the heart, the mind, the body, the spirit, the quality. You've got to put it all together and try and beat the opposition on a Saturday. It's as simple as it gets.
You mentioned the two players you brought in. Obviously, Carl Morrison gets his goal, looked very solid, I thought, at the back. And David Wall, I thought, going up and down the flank, he possibly gave you what you've been missing since Joe Folks has been injured. Is that fair?
Very, very fair. I've been trying to analyse Joe's absence, and it comes in a lot of different guises. You know, we know what Joe can do on the ball. When the ball's at his feet, he's a good player. Hence the reason why he's came from league football to this level, and he's still playing his trade at a decent level, don't get me wrong, and he's playing some good football. But at the same time, when you've got a 2 on your back, and I know he wears the 12, but he's got a 2 on his back as a right back or a right wing back, you realise why you're wearing that number, and it's defensively first and foremost. But the modern day game is so hell-bent on possession and quality players. Joe fits into that as well. So the analysis where Joe's concerned, how much are we losing going forward, but more importantly, how much we losing going that way, you know, defensively. And the numbers are up on both, you know. So Joe's absenteeism is something that I didn't think was going to be as important. That's the wrong word, important, because at the end of the day, I thought I could cover him with Rhys McNally. But if you look at Rhys McNally, he's a centre-half playing right back, possibly. But he's a centre half first and foremost. Joe's a right back playing right wing back, but he's a right back first and foremost. The little bits of the strings to the bow that you can add to it are just experience in various situations. But I think Rhys doesn't give us as much as what Joe does going forward, but Joe probably doesn't give us as much defensively as what Rhys McNally gives us. A couple of two of them together, that's hence the reason why I wanted to bring another one in, just to make sure that we could cover Joe on all bases, and hopefully Dave went a long way to doing that on Tuesday. But if I give the same example of Caleb Richards, and we talked about Caleb Richards and Rhys Devine, change the system because of it, you know, because I need both of them in the team, and I think I need both of them in the team because of the balance of the left hand side versus the right hand side. The balance of the left hand side with the right hand side on Tuesday night was there for everybody to see. It was absolute balance in between, and I love that.
I went away from here on Tuesday night thinking, well, that set the benchmark now for the rest of the season, that performance.
Well said. Yeah, very much well said. We've been in this morning, you know, so whether it be 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning and you're taking them away from your families, we were in this morning and we had another video session with regards to our match day objectives, you know, and the new lads are in, they're buying in, but they might bring something different, you know. That's the reason why talking at this moment in time is more important, you know, where players are concerned. They've got to learn about what I'm all about, what I want my teams to do, and then putting it into practice on a Saturday. Running around Monday to Friday, well, we've done a lot of that, you know, in pre-season and the season as it's sort of bedded itself, it's made its way to this stage. I think the players are fit enough. It's just the mentality of the group that I'm interested in now, because the stronger mental groups will be the ones that survive or even do something at the end of the season.
This weekend then, Sunday, you're off to Buxton. Well, it is Buxton to play Farsley Celtic. You get an extra day, I suppose, rest after Tuesday. That's one big plus.
It's a massive plus. It really is. I hear all the top guys, you know, the Premier League managers complaining about another 24 hours too early, or too many games in a week, or travelling and this and that. Lo and behold, it happens everywhere. It doesn't matter what division you're in. Or what league you're in, you've got to travel. You've got to travel home and away, everybody knows that, and you've got to do it as professionally as you possibly can, so you can prepare your players as best you can. Because if you don't prepare your players as best you can, you've only yourself to blame. But we'll be travelling on Sunday morning. We'll have a pre-match meal en route, which we've already done. You know, we've been to Buxton away in the cup, and got a good result. Should have won that game if truth be known, but did it over 2 legs, as it were. But going there, knowing exactly what the surroundings are like, that's important. Know what the surface is like. It won't have deteriorated anymore, you know, being a 3G, 2G, 1G, whatever it is. But you know what it's all about. It's Farsley Celtic. Will they have as many crowd in as what Buxton did? I doubt it very much. But it's a game of football where we've got to go there and forget about the league table. Just go there and it's 11v11 and take them on at our game. And if we can get our game on the table, then it should be enough.
Just before I ask you the weekly question about injuries and any new striker coming in, just looking at it sort of overall, you haven't been put away too many times this season. You come away from a game and thought, blimey, Harriers looked poor. Kings Lynn was probably one.
Yeah.
But after that, you went on a really good run after that for several, you know, quite a few games. You presumably have got to look to do the same, having put in a really good performance, funny enough, against Kings Lynn here the other night.
I think what the biggest problem we've had, Trevor, is probably getting ahead of ourselves, and that's my fault. Looking too far ahead. Everybody tells you in management the next game's the most important. In fact, the next game's the only game, you know, and that's the mindset we've got to have from now to the end of the season. The next game's the only game that we need to be thinking about, need to be bothered about, need to be preparing for, and the next game's Farsley Celtic. So going on a run is all well and good. I just want to make it 2 wins on the bounce, and then we'll talk about the 3rd one, and then the 4th one, and the 5th one after that. But Sunday is all about our mentality and taking what we got from the game, which is 1, 3 points, 2, a clean sheet, 3, 2 new players in the camp who were just starting to get to know a little bit better because of training, etc., and what they bring to the party, and that competition that we had on Tuesday night for places. The ones that are on the bench, you've got to be thinking, when's my chance coming, because it's a winning team now. And the ones that were in the stand have got to be thinking, do I get a chance on the bench this weekend? All of that, as I've said all season to you, puts us in a good place. But we just got to focus on the next game and don't get ahead of ourselves.
I know it's almost becoming a running joke that I ask about a new striker each week, but a slightly different tack. Is Ben Beresford any closer to a return?
Yeah, 1 week. It's unfortunate that Ben's not, because he comes here every game, you know, he's part and parcel of the change room, has been since he's been here, but he's a week closer, that's all I can say. Will he play any part between now and the end of the season? Fingers crossed he'll have something to say in March, but when you think about it, March and April, 2 months ago, and what we've missed. But at the same time, you know, you have to go back to the players that are doing it for you, you know, the players that are crossing the white line week in and week out, and putting their heart, mind, body, soul, spirit, the lot on the line for the club, and that includes the club captain, you know. So even if Ben Beresford was around, you know, he'd be either playing alongside Amari, or he'd be on the bench waiting for Amari to have a bad game. I'm a Amari supporter, you know. Everybody says I'm an Amari, absolutely. The amount of commitment he showed me and the football club, I think everybody in Kidderminster should be a supporter of Amari Morgan-Smith, but he's 35 and he knows that. We've got to look after him. It's another tough game on Sunday, and when we finish that one, he's got a week's preparation, which is a rarity. just wrap them up in cotton wool and see if we can get them out the next game. And that includes 5 or 6 of the players who are really going through it at the moment. We've got slight injury concerns, if you want to call them that, with Dave Worrell, with Christian Dibble. And with that in mind, you know the list of injuries that we've got. You know the central midfield berth is a little bit thin on the ground, to say the least. So there might be 1 or 2 changes on Sunday, but will it weaken the spirit that we've just created in one game? I don't think so. I think the 2 new lads will make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you mentioned Christian Dibble. He looked like he got a hip injury or something on Tuesday night.
He went through the mill on Tuesday, to tell you the truth. There's about 3 or 4 occasions where I thought Tom Palmer was getting ready and getting warmed up, and we've never seen Tom in pink before. He looked quite a picture. But he was getting ready, and from minute 59, 60, whatever it was, and I was thinking, I've seen Dibs go down, but I've never seen him go down and stay down. And he's a big boy, a big lad, you know. But again, going back to it, that was his 17th clean sheet in the league. Tom Palmer's got some gloves to fill, not boots. Got some gloves to fill if he comes in.
I was going to say, could easily be overlooked actually briefly on Christian Dibble, because just before Rhys Devine got your second goal, he made a really smart save at the other end.
That's true. No, we didn't take anything for granted on Tuesday night. We knew, having been beaten comprehensively back in November by Kings Lynn, that there weren't going to be any mugs. And when it was at 1-0, yeah, there was a couple of moments, but you want players to step up to the plate. You want to put bodies on the line, and you want your goalkeeper at moments like you've just mentioned to make good saves, and that's exactly what Christian Dibble's been doing this season.
Is he likely to be fit for Sunday?
Fingers crossed. It's not a 50-50 or anything like that, but it's just going to be wrapped up in cotton wool for a couple of days. So he hasn't trained today. Tomorrow might be the same, and if he gets out to training on Saturday in preparation for Sunday, it's one of them where he's played such a big part in the season so far that you could just say, if you're fit, you're playing. Do you have to train? I don't think he needs to train, if truth be known, but he's got to rest that body of his, because he's a big unit. He's got to rest that body of his and make sure he's fit and ready to cross the white line on Sunday.
A final question then, in terms of further additions, obviously got about a month now, I think, until the deadline comes.
Yeah.
Are you still looking to add?
Yeah, still looking, as always. You'd be a fool not to, you know, as long as the chairman and the board of directors are backing you in terms of the finances, which they are. Nothing but good to say about the football club at the moment, but you know, the right player that comes in, if he does come in, it's got to be the right player, the right position, the right mentality for to come and join this band of merry men that we've got at Kidminster, and as I say, long may that continue.
Thank you very much.
Just to quickly touch on a couple of the other injury points, I think you said a couple of weeks ago John might be 6 to 8 weeks. Is it still kind of that time frame?
I think looking at Joe in the gym today, it's closer to 6 than 8, which is great news. At the same time, he's in the gym every day, he's pumping his body. He's going to come back somebody different, I think. He's going to come back like a monster. I looked at the size of his arms today in the gym. Just got to make sure that you don't overdo it in there. You know, bottom line is he's here because he's a good footballer. His strength and conditioning work is important, there's no doubt about it, but getting the injury right and making sure that he finishes the season strong with us, that's the main part of it. So he'd not be far off, Joe. He'd be closer than further away, that's for sure. And the same applies with David Davies. You know, he's coming through rigorous tests and challenges, and the conversation I had with him this morning wasn't with the physio, it was with David. And sometimes a player can give you a positive report, but you have to take the negativity from the physio, because, you know, at the end of the day, players will always say, oh yeah, I'm okay, next thing you know, they re-injure. That's the last thing I want with David. But David's saying that there's a chance he might be out running on Saturday, not with a view to playing some part in Sunday's game, but might be out running Saturday, and that's early.
Jim Kellerman, I know, was struggling a bit, unfortunately.
Jim had a grade 3 tear, so unfortunately his season for the Harriers will be finished, which is never a nice thing to say, but you know, Jim's been different class since he's been here. He's got a lot to offer. He's another Luke Summerfield. He's got a lot to offer from the experience side of things to younger lads that are plying their trade at this level, and if they're foolish and they don't listen, then they're not the kind of player I want at the football club. You need to be listening to people like Jim Kellerman, like Luke Summerfield, like David Davies, the players who are out on the sidelines at the moment are giving good advice.